Quick check of the Dow. We are down 209 points. All right. If Warren Buffett is anything, he's unbelievably disciplined when it comes to investing, even if it means a short-term ding to his stock. Berkshire Hathaway down about 0.75% right now after it was revealed late yesterday that the famed value investor reportedly walked away from a deal to invest about $3 billion in Uber ahead of the ride-sharing app's eventual IPO. The Wall Street Journal reports that the king of value investing pulled the plug because he didn't like the terms and size of the deal. But that actually perfectly demonstrates how Warren Buffett has remained the most successful investor of our time. Be disciplined and never overpay. Well, the apple apparently doesn't fall far from the tree. Buffett's grandson, Howard, has just co-authored Social Value Investing, but with a new twist: how to invest in value stocks while at the same time help to solve some of the world's biggest challenges. First on Fox Business, we welcome grandson of Warren Buffett, Howard Buffett. Great to see you.
Liz, thank you so much for having me.
Before we get to the book, this Uber investment, does it surprise you that he thought about it and then the terms weren't right, so he walked away? What's his thinking on this, if you were to know, knowing his past?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. You know, I actually haven't had the opportunity to speak to him about it specifically, so I don't want to put words in his mouth. But I will say I think that generally what Uber really shows us is people's kind of yearning for interconnectivity, and that building something on a technology platform that really enables folks to link up with each other and provide important services, whether they're social services or otherwise, I think shows us how powerful that kind of a system is, something we talk about in our work as well.
And it was probably attractive to your dad, because he has told me that automated vehicles, and we know Uber's going that way, will eventually hurt his big insurance company, Geico. But so you would think that solar or wind might have hurt some of his Berkshire Energy investments, but he hedges his bets. He goes all into many different areas.
Yeah, he does. And, you know, it's interesting, you know, I serve on one of the boards for Toyota, and automated vehicles, I think, are going to be an incredibly important thing in the future, if nothing else, when we talk about it from a safety perspective, which is something that I hold near and dear to my heart.
Would that count as social investing? All of this move toward autonomous vehicles?
That's a great question. You know, I think any time that you can be, you know, improving outcomes for society, we look at the number of unintended vehicle deaths as, you know, incredibly high in the country. I think that that's definitely an important investment for, you know, for advancing social good and social interest. What we talk about it in terms of social value investing is really more about how different partners come together to collaborate. So it's just as much about a mindset as it is how organizations work together to make the world a better place.
There is the perception that social investing may sound and feel really good, but where's the yield? Where's the return? How do you balance picking certain companies to invest in that are socially responsible, but also nobody wants to lose money? I don't care how much good these companies are doing. Do they get that return? So how do you go about picking a stock that fits into both sides of that?
Yeah, well, in a lot of cases, it does take the type of discipline that you were talking about and knowing what your goals are. So at first, you have to have an idea for a baseline of what you want to do to make the world a better place, and then you have to look and see what attractive investments fit within that. Just for example, think about the work that Berkshire does in energy. It's been incredibly lucrative for the business, but in terms of wind and solar, also is doing a lot to make the world a better place. So it's a combination of things.
So when we put up stocks that are good social investments, there are also ETFs that are green ETFs, for example, that work with climate change and trying to help in that situation. Where do you stand on those baskets of names that people look at and say, oh, well, they must have done the research?
Yeah, I think that we're going to see an increasing number of opportunities. Goldman Sachs is coming out with a new ETF very soon that focuses directly on this. And I think that some of the ones that we've seen in the past have actually shown really impressive returns so far. Again, making investments in opportunities that serve society's interests at the same time as providing returns for investors.
Bill Gates has endorsed this book. He read it. We were calling it Gates's new fave book because I know Bill Gates well enough to know that he doesn't endorse anything. And when he does, it's because he absolutely loves and believes in it. What did you learn from him? He was sort of the original guy who went out there and said, I'm going to put my money behind good, to do good and to make good.
Yeah, I spent almost a year doing work with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. This was back in 2007. And part of what we did was to really focus on how do we think about high quality impact, right? So what performance measures do we put behind the evaluation that we do for grants or for financial allocations? And that turned into an entire methodology that we have outlined in the book. So I had the opportunity not only to learn directly from the really amazing people that work there, but then to apply that work to what we've outlined in social value investing.
Howard Buffett. The book is called Social Value Investing. And you know what? you don't want to put your money behind something that isn't good quality and does right for the planet and for people. So read this and you'll learn how. Thank you so much.
Wonderful. Thank you, Liz.
Good to see you and good luck. He teaches at Columbia University, too. I bet it's a popular class. Howard Buffett, thank you.